Now for 6.3, we're going to be dealing with trinomials, but the leading coefficient is not going to be 1. So in this case, my leading coefficient is 2, and I cannot factor it out. I cannot divide everything by 2 because of that 7. So let's see. What we're going to be doing in this case, we're going to do a mixture of the diamond, of this little X thing, and a mixture of this with combining by grouping. Okay, so let's follow through. Now here, when I'm gonna be looking at my numbers, in this case, I want them to multiply to 12. And the reason why I got the 12 because I multiply these two outside numbers. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply equals 12, but when I add them equals 7. I still get the 7 from the center. In this case, I'm thinking of, well, let's see. 1 times 12, yeah, that doesn't do it. 2 times 6, yeah, that doesn't do it. 3 times 4, yep, that will be it. So I'm thinking of 3 and 4. Once again, remember, I do my list of factors, and my first list, my numbers, are increasing. Okay, so now here, this is our method, our diamond part. Now, what we're going to be doing, this 3 and 4 is just how I'm going to split the middle term. So I'm going to split the middle term, 7, by 3 and 4. So I'm going to do this as 2x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 6. Once again, this was for me to split the middle term. So that way I have 4 terms. Now I can go grouping. 2x squared plus 3x, let me factor out an x. So I'm going to have 2x plus 3. On the second group, 4x plus 6, let me factor out a 2. So I'm going to get 2x plus 3. I see a common parentheses, which is what I was expecting. So 2x plus 3 is one of my factors. The other factor is going to be x plus 2. So whenever the leading coefficient is not 1, multiply the first and last number to know what you want your numbers to multiply to, and keep the middle number as to what the number should add up to. But we don't go straight to factoring. These numbers 3 and 4 is just how we're going to split the middle term. All right, let's take a look at another question. So looking at my numbers, I cannot split them. I cannot factor anything out, I mean. So multiply this number. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiplied equals -6, but when I add them equals 1. Remember the middle term is 1 there? Because they multiply to a negative, the signs must be different. So I'm going to think 1 times 6, yeah, that doesn't do it. 2 times 3, yeah, that thing does. Because remember, I have to subtract the values because the signs are different. So I have +3, -2. So I'm going to split the middle term as 6r squared plus 3r minus 2r minus 1. Now, question you guys might ask, does it matter if I have the 3 on the left, or what if I put it on the right? It will not matter. The only thing that's going to matter is the parentheses, the common parentheses. Instead of being the common parentheses, will be split out. I'll explain that more in a minute. So let's take a look. Okay. So the first two terms, 6r squared plus 3r, let me divide both of them by 3r, and I'm going to have 2r plus 1. Looking at the second group, let me factor a -1 out, and I'm going to have 2r plus 1. So my factors are going to be 2r plus 1, which is the common parentheses, and the other one is 3r minus 1. All right, now going back to what I was saying, what if we have the numbers swap, the -2 at the left, the +3 at the right? So obviously the order here will change. What that will cause, it will give me at the end my same factors. It's just that the common parentheses, instead of being 2r plus 1, the common parentheses will be 3r minus 1. So what we have outside is going to go inside the parentheses, and what we have inside is going to go outside. So that switch is what's going to happen. But in reality, we get the same factors. The order of the factors does not matter. So in my first parentheses is 2r plus 1 or 3r minus 1, it doesn't matter. So what I mean with that is this is one of our answers. The other answer could be 3r minus 1 times 2r plus 1. So the order of the parentheses does not matter, right? We have the same two parentheses, just different order. All right, let me erase all this. Let's take a look at example number 2, or example B. First, I look greatest common factor. There's nothing I can divide it by. Okay, so I'm looking for two numbers that multiplied equals negative 24. Remember, I multiplied those two, but they have to add to negative 5. Because they multiply to a negative, I know the signs are different. So, all right, factors of 24 are 1 times 24, 2 times 12. Yeah, they don't do it. 3 times 8. Yep, that will be it. It's positive 3, negative 8. So this is how I'm going to split the middle term. So I have 12z squared plus 3z minus 8z minus 2. So I'm going to do this by grouping. The first two terms, I can divide both of them by 3z. I'm going to factor out the greatest common factor. So I'm going to have on the inside, I'm going to have 4z plus 1. Now, on my second group, negative 8z minus 2, let me factor out a negative 2. So I'm going to have 4z plus 1. Make sure you do factor out the negative because the inside of the parentheses has to match the older parentheses. If we only factor out a 2, not the negative sign, just the positive 2, then I will have negative 4z minus 1, which will not match my other parentheses. So make sure you make both parentheses match. Okay, so my factors here are 4z plus 1, that's one of my factors, and the other one is 3z minus 2. Once again, the order of the two does not matter. Now let's take a look at this other one. Factor a trinomial. You know, the leading coefficient is not 1, but no, my numbers are kind of big. So when they are kind of big, probably we have a greatest common factor. Looking at all these numbers, I can divide them all by 2. So let me put my 2 out. When it comes to x's, I can factor out an x to the third. All right, so let's factor a 2x cubed from all of them. So I'm going to have 14x squared minus 29x minus 15. Yeah, there's nothing else. So, okay. My numbers are still a little bit big, but at least 14 times 15 is going to be so much easier to deal with than 28 times 30. All right, so once again, on my diamond, on my x thing, I want my two numbers that when I multiply them, I want them to equals to negative 210. Right, you guys see which numbers I multiplied. And then when I add them, I want them to add up to negative 29. Just looking at parentheses, right? So, all right, thinking of the factors of 210, remember the signs have to be different because they multiply to a negative. I'm more like, all right, 1 times 210. Yep, they don't do it. 2 is a factor of 210. I can easily use a calculator. 210 divided by 2 gives me 105. Yeah, that one doesn't do it either. What about 3? I can use a calculator. 210 divided by 3 gives me 70. Oh, that doesn't do it. What about 4? 210 divided by 4 gives me a decimal. So, okay, so 4 is not a factor. What about 5? 210 divided by 5 gives me 42. Yeah, that one doesn't do it still. What about 6? Remember, my list on the left is increasing. So 6, 210 divided by 6, I get 35. When I subtract them equals 29. So, okay, so this is good. This is what's going to work. So my factors are going to be positive 6, negative 35. This is how I'm going to split the middle term. Remember, I'm only looking at the parentheses. So I have 14x squared plus 6x minus 35x minus 15. Remember, my negative 29, I split it as 6 minus 35. Okay, let's do a grouping then. first two, let me factor out a 2x. So when I divide both sides by 2x, I'm going to have 7x plus 3. Let me take a look at my other two terms. Let me divide both of them by negative 5. So I'm going to have 7x plus 3. Have a common parentheses. So my factors are 7x plus 3 and 2x minus 5. However, don't forget the number you factor out at the beginning. Remember, outside of the parentheses, we have 2x to the third. Make sure you don't forget about that. All right, so that's how we do this. Good luck with 6.3.